See the kind of response you get. Symbols elicit and bring out emotional responses in people. Even more importantly, symbols have their own spiritual presence. They tell you things. Michael Tsarian said, "Some of the techniques that they use in this psychic dictatorship are words, symbols, colors, rhythms, light, movement, and mudras, which mean hand positions, gestures, which have been used for eons as means of spiritualization, used by cults, infused with mysticism, are now being used on us for quite an opposite agenda, to drag us down into the pits of our own miasma, our own hells." Jack Benjamin said, "The use of symbols to convey meaning to the initiated and to conceal it from the uninitiated is as old as civilization. A clear understanding of the symbolic way of thinking is necessary if you are to unveil and comprehend the esoteric meaning of the symbols of ancient and modern times." And David Icke wrote, "The Illuminati use what I call reverse symbolism. They place their symbols all around us, but present them with the reverse of their true meaning. For example, the dove symbolizes peace to most people, but to the Illuminati bloodlines it represents their goddess, Queen Semiramis, Isis. The lighted torch means freedom and liberty to the population, but to the Illuminati it is the very symbol of their agenda and control." Did you know the Statue of Liberty was given to America by French Freemasons? There is another statue just like it in France, on an island in the Seine. The character propagated as Lady Liberty, supposedly derived from the Roman goddess Libertas, is simply a patriotic pseudonym for the public. Lady Liberty has been known throughout history as Isis of Egypt, Semiramis or Ishtar of Babylon, Athena of Greece, Astarte of Syria, Cybele of Rome, Ashtoreth of Israel, and Diana of Ephesus. She is the pagan mother goddess of the Brotherhood, nearly always depicted dressed in robe, wearing a crown of thorns, and carrying the torch of illumination. She is symbolic of both the moon and dog star Sirius, which is why the English word for God is simply dog backwards. The dog days of summer was coined after Sirius, and was believed to be an evil time. J. Brady, in Clavis Calendarium, says the dog days were known as a time when the seas boiled, wine turned sour, dogs grew mad, and all creatures became languid, causing to man burning fevers, hysterics, and frenzies. This hot time was associated with hot-headedness. This is why you're serious, S-I-R-I-U-S, when you're serious. This is also the occult origin of the all-American hot dog. July 4th, America's Independence Day, just happens to be the second of Sirius's Dog Days, an important date to the pre-Masonic Knights Templar. Graham Hancock and Robert Bouval wrote, "It is the date of the Templars' massive defeat by Muslim armies in the Holy Land at the Horns of Hattin on the 4th of July, 1187, which was followed by the loss of Jerusalem to Christendom. There could therefore hardly be a more evocative Templar or Solomonic date than the 4th of July. Evocative, that is, of the aspiration to build Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. The reader will also be aware, of course, that the 4th of July is Independence Day in the U.S., commemorating the signature of the Declaration of Independence, and converting the date forever into a powerful talisman that spells out independence and freedom for the New World, and now, by and large, for a New World Order." The symbol for the U.S. dollar bill is an I and an S, or sometimes two I's. But the S and the I have nothing to do with dollars, and everything to do with Isis, I-S-I-S. The Egyptian goddess of the moon and Sirius was Isis, and this is the most common name for her used by the Brotherhood. So the dollar sign is actually an occult talisman to this Illuminati goddess. This is why both the Statue of Liberty, Isis, and her dollars are both the same color, green. The ancient roots of the word moon were mon and min, which is why we have money made at the mint. The very idea of money and symbolic currency comes from ancient secret societies. Michael Tsarian said, "Silver was connected with the moon, and therefore with the goddesses of the moon, the most famous of which was and is Isis. so her name became the symbol of money. We find this today in the cleverly camouflaged motif of the dollar sign, which is nothing more than the sigil for the name of ISIS, but fused together in an ingenious manner.
In 1933, 33rd degree Freemason Franklin D. Roosevelt added the Great Seal to the US dollar, transforming it into an occult talisman. The same year, he signed a gold confiscation order and took the US off the gold standard. At a press conference on March 8, 1933, he joked, "As long as nobody asks me whether we are off the gold standard, that's all right, because nobody knows what the gold standard really is." David Icke wrote, "The 33rd degree Freemason and Black Nobility President Franklin Delano Roosevelt had this symbol printed on the dollar bill from 1933. It was a symbol of secret societies in Europe long before anyone heard of the United States, and it is awash with Freemasonic and secret society symbolism going back to the ancient world. Notice the symbology and numerology used on the dollar bill. The most obvious symbol is the Illuminati pyramid, with the hovering, all-seeing eye in the capstone. Opposite this is the All-American Eagle, with a downturned U.S. flag affront its chest. These and many other symbols on the dollar come from the ancient stellar, solar, and lunar cults. Michael Tessarian wrote, "The pyramid is for the stellar cult, as are the various stars that appear on the bill. The golden eagle is for the solar cult. The eagle is the symbol of America because it signifies the constellation in Scorpio called Achaea. Scorpio is the sign of power, money, and wealth, as well as secret knowledge. The U.S. elections are held right in the middle of Scorpio, and the birthday of America is in the scorpionic decanate of Cancer. The color green also relates to the solar cult. The number 13, which appears frequently on the dollar bill, stands for the lunar cult. There are 13 months in the lunar year. America originally had 13 states. London is made up of 28 boroughs, this being the number of lunar mansions. 13 is also a stellar cult numeral, much used by the Israelites and other Semitic tribes and nations. Then there are the watermarks, or moon letters, for the lunar cults. The double-headed eagle symbol, which came from Babylon and survived through the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, has been today adopted by America, Mexico, Israel, Germany, France, Chile, Italy, Honduras, and many others. David Icke wrote, "The eagle is a widely used brotherhood symbol, and it can be found on the coats of arms of many countries, including Egypt, Libya, and Iraq. It was a major symbol for Germany, and it appears in the designs of pulpits and lecterns used by the Christian Church. Seals like the one used on the Great Seal of the United States can be traced back to at least 4000 BC in Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, and India." The word money comes from the lunar cults. Early words for the moon were mon and min, giving us mani, printed at a mint. We have a worldwide monarchy that controls the world's money supply. We have finance ministers, prime ministers, and their ministries being controlled by occult elites and societies. Monks perform monthly ceremonies in monasteries. It is interesting to note that the plant mint is green, our money, printed at the mint, is green, and the Isis moon goddess Statue of Liberty is also green. Someone who is ignorant is green. Moon lovers are lunatics. From the French, they are monsters. You can see how the elite esoterically worship the moon, continuing the lunar cult, while exoterically condemning and marginalizing it. Jordan Maxwell wrote, "You will see beneath the pyramid 1776 spelled out in Roman numerals, plus the words Annuit Coeptis, and is translated as Annuit our enterprise. Coeptis is translated to mean crowned with success, or is crowned with success. Therefore, Annuit Coeptis is our enterprise, which is now a success." Then, in order to find out what enterprise was a success, read on the $1 bill at the bottom of the pyramid, Novus Ordo Seclorum, which translates as the New Order of the World, the New World Order. The Latin translation of Annuit Coeptis Novus Ordo Seclorum is, Our New World Order is crowned with success. The other Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, means one out of many, order out of chaos, the Hegelian dialectic, the problem-reaction-solution paradigm used by the elites to drive world events, opinions, and policies. There are 13 letters in Annuit Coeptis, and 13 letters in E pluribus unum. The dollar encodes the number 13 repeatedly. There are 13 stars above the eagle's head, 13 steps on the pyramid, 13 vertical bars on the shield, 13 horizontal stripes at the top of the shield, 13 leaves on the olive branch, 13 arrows, 13 fruits, and 13 numbers. If you draw a 6-sided Star of David hexagram around the pyramid on the back of the dollar, 5 of the 6 corners will point to letters ASMON, or when you rearrange them, MASON. Jordan Maxwell wrote, "You will find on the dollar bill the eagle, which comes from the ancient concept of the phoenix and has 13 stars above it. The 13 stars are arranged in the configuration of the Star of David, or the hexagram. Most people think the 13 stars represent the original 13 colonies. In the first place, why did they have to have 13 colonies? Why couldn't they have 27, or 4, or 10? When one understands that the number 13 is a very important, profound Masonic number, and that many of the founding fathers of this country were Freemasons, as well as Rosicrucians, then you will follow this connecting thread of material to see what was actually being created. They knew what they were doing when they divided this country into 13 colonies. The number 13 is not an unlucky number for them. It's an unlucky number for you."
After President Kennedy's assassination in 1963, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry erected an obelisk there at Dealey Plaza and topped it with the depiction of the Illuminati flame. On his grave in Arlington Cemetery, they lit an eternal flame, which still burns to this day. Over the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, where Princess Diana was killed after crashing into the 13th pillar, the Illuminati erected a huge golden torch and flame sitting atop a black pentagram. On the island where Diana lies buried was placed yet another depiction of the Illuminati flame. David Icke said, "The Brotherhood is telling us that they killed Kennedy and Diana, but unless you understand their symbolic language, you don't know." At Ground Zero of the World Trade Center, shortly after 9/11, they lit another eternal flame for the victims. Overlooking the fallen World Trade Center buildings in New York Harbor stands the Freemasonic Statue of Liberty, also holding up the Illuminati torch. Another few blocks away, in Rockefeller Center, the Rockefellers erected a huge golden statue of Prometheus carrying the lighted torch. This Illuminati symbol is found on the dime, the DIA seal, Indiana's seal, the symbol of the Olympic Games, CBN, the National Front, the Better Business Bureau, and many other places where the Brotherhood's fingers have delved. Jordan Maxwell wrote, "The torch, of course, the Olympic torch, is the torch of Prometheus, the god who stole fire for the service of man. And again, as we said, in New York, in front of Rockefeller Plaza, you will see the statue of Prometheus, holding in his hand a flame, the torch, the fire of revolution. The dime, of course, inscripted on the back, you will find the torch of illumination. It's still there today. The Statue of Liberty has the torch. Of course, on all universities and colleges, we find in their symbols and emblems that they have the torches, symbolically standing for illumination of the Illuminati. As a matter of fact, when you are a graduate from a university, you become an alumni, which is taken from, obviously, Illuminati, emphasizing that you become illuminated when you go to a university. The torch is also used in the Amoco oil logo. It is found many, many places. David Icke wrote, Their most used symbols are the lighted torch, the symbol of knowledge, and the sun. When an initiate reaches a certain level in the pyramid, they are said to be illuminated. More symbolism of the lighted torch. One of the recurring stories in the ancient world is of a hero figure who takes fire, knowledge, from the gods and gives it to the people, the chosen few people, that is. At the Rockefeller Center in New York today is a gold statue of Prometheus. Gold, the solar metal of the gods, and he is holding the light, the fire, in line with the legend. To the Rockefellers, this is not just a statue. It is a symbol of the whole scam they are involved in. Following the Illuminati torch symbol begins to unravel a larger mystery. The Brotherhood goddess Isis Semiramis holds the torch of enlightenment in the Statue of Liberty, as well as the Columbia Pictures and Columbia Records logo. Columbia University's symbol is also the torch and flame. CBS, Columbia Broadcasting System's logo, is the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C., which stands for District of Columbia. America was discovered by a man named Columbus. The fraternal order Knights of Columbus have been exposed aiding the drug trade in Colombia, the country. Columbia is the NASA space shuttle that blew up. Columbine is the high school that suffered the mass shootings. What is going on here? Jordan Maxwell wrote, "It goes back to a group of Freemasons that came to this country before the founding of our Constitution, who were called the Columbians, known as the Columbian faction. They founded what we know as Columbia University. Out of that has come Columbia Space Shuttle, Columbia Pictures, and Columbia Broadcasting, CBS, with the all-seeing eye on the pyramid as their symbol. As a matter of fact, our government, our so-called government, is not even a part of our country. It is an area called the District of Columbia. It is a separate district, not part of America at all. The simple truth behind that fact is that there was a section of the geography in this country that was set aside by a very powerful group of Freemasons called the Columbian faction, working behind the scenes during the founding of this country. The fourth and highest degree emblem in the Knights of Columbus depicts a dive-bombing white dove. The French word for dove is colombe. Sacrificial doves representing virgins were known in Masonic circles as the colombe. Many of the British royal crowns and scepters are topped with the white dove. This is the same royalty that gave us the pseudonym Christopher Columbus as the man who discovered America. David Icke wrote, "The Statue of Liberty is the symbolic image of the goddess worshipped by the Illuminati bloodlines since they were based in Babylon and before. She goes under many names, including Queen Semiramis, the branch-bearer, who was symbolized as a dove. When the Illuminati bloodlines moved their headquarters to Rome, the goddess was worshipped as Venus Columba, or Venus the Dove. The French word for dove is still colombe. This is why a man who signed his name Colon is known to official history as Columbus. He was bearing the branch of the dove into the Americas in 1492, and was given this symbolic name relating to the Illuminati goddess. The symbols of the three main political parties in the United Kingdom, which serve the structure headed by the Queen, are the lighted torch, Conservatives, the red rose, Labour, and the dove, Liberal Democrats. At the time of writing, their three leaders are Tony Blair, Bilderberg Group, William Hague, Bilderberg Group, and Paddy Ashdown, Bilderberg Group. Just a coincidence, nothing to worry about." During the 1790s, French Freemason Pierre L'Enfant designed the street plan and architectural layout of Washington, D.C. to include many occult talismans. If you see D.C. from an aerial view, you may be shocked to find things like an iron cross, the Star of David, an upside-down pentagram pointing to the White House, and even a pyramid with a huge owl sitting atop the Capitol building. The Egyptian hieroglyph for the Illuminati goddess Isis Sirius is a star, an oval, and an obelisk, all drawn together. In Washington, D.C., there just happens to be the Washington Monument obelisk, the Oval Office,
and a pentagram encoded in the streets and architecture. David Oveson wrote, "The Egyptian hierogram for the star Sirius consists of 3 shapes, a 5-pointed star, an oval, and an obelisk. Amazingly, this is just what we find in stone in Washington, D.C. The entire city is dedicated astromantically to the star Sirius and its occult deities. Astrology is good enough for the ruling plutocrats, it seems. Pity that when the ordinary person seeks to use the divination arts for their own personal physical and spiritual empowerment, they are considered freaks and devil worshippers." As J.P. Morgan said, "Millionaires do not use astrology, billionaires do." In Washington, D.C., we have the phallic monument facing the female Oval Office, plus the Pentagon and L'Enfant's pentagrams. In Paris, we find Cleopatra's Needle, another obelisk, in front of the Notre Dame Virgin Mary's Cathedral. The Vatican has another masculine obelisk surrounded by a feminine circular building structure. In London, New York, and many other places, you will find the same. The Brotherhood has placed their sexual architecture at key geomantic points all over the earth. David Icke wrote, "The obelisk and the dome are common sights in the monuments and buildings of the Brotherhood. The obelisk is an ancient phallic symbol of the male energy and solar energy, and the dome represents the female or moon energy. Often they are placed close together. This is the symbolism of the Oval Office, the womb female, in the White House, which looks out on the Washington Monument, the vast stone obelisk, phallic, male. These symbols attract and generate the energy they represent. They are a physical thought form. The obelisk also symbolizes the phallus of the Egyptian sun god Osiris. According to legend, after Osiris had been sliced into pieces by his rival Set, the queen Isis found all the pieces except his willy. An obelisk, claimed to come from Alexandria in Egypt, stands in Central Park, New York, and its twin was erected in the 19th century during the reign of Queen Victoria on the former Templar lands alongside the River Thames, not far from the Houses of Parliament. It is known as Cleopatra's Needle, and originally stood in Heliopolis, the Egyptian city of the sun, from at least 1500 BC, before it was moved to Alexandria. A sphinx has been placed on either side at its London location. Another Egyptian obelisk, which was built in Luxor 3,200 years ago, now stands in the Place de Concorde in Paris, less than a minute's drive from the scene of Diana's crash. On the other side of the crash scene is the Eiffel Tower, another gigantic obelisk in disguise. The Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. is a colossal obelisk. The dome, from a Greek word meaning place of the gods, draws in and harnesses energy, as does the pyramid. They also keep the secrets of ancient ley lines and continue building along them. For instance, the cities of Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. are all on a perfect diagonal that continues down to Teotihuacan and all the way up to Stonehenge, Troy, and Baalbek. London to Giza and Paris to Dendera are almost equidistant parallel lines as well. This geomantic knowledge was understood and kept hidden by ancient builders and masons, and remains that way today. David Icke wrote, "Has anyone ever asked themselves why a war memorial nearly always has to be an obelisk? And why do you think the Washington Monument in the center of Washington, D.C. is a giant obelisk? Because obelisks, like all these symbols and geometrical shapes, generate the energy they represent. I remember climbing some stone steps inside a big obelisk near Hebden Bridge in England, and feeling enormous male sexual energy all around me. I wondered what on earth was happening, until I remembered where I was. Inside a male phallus, in effect. What a symbol is built to represent is the energy it will generate, because symbols are a physical manifestation of the thoughts which create them. These guys don't put their symbols everywhere just for fun. They do it because it helps to resonate the energy field to the vibrational frequency they want. In turn, this affects the thoughts and feelings of the people. The Masons are very familiar with astrology, astronomy, and astrotheology. They align all important commemorations, dedications, declarations, groundbreakings, grand openings, and other events to coincide with astrological phenomena. David Oveson wrote, "The extraordinary truth is that the very existence of the Washington Monument is intimately linked with the Egyptian star Sirius, the Sihor, which the ancients represented in their sacred hieroglyphics as an obelisk as well as a star. How is it possible that this most important star of the ancient world should find itself, as it were, resurrected in the architecture of the United States? In the course of that day, when the cornerstone of the Washington Monument was laid, the sun would have passed over Sirius. Computations clearly show that on the day the Declaration of Independence was agreed in Philadelphia, the sun was on Sirius. The Mason who first signed the Declaration of Independence would have been aware of the particular significance of July 4th as a cosmic event. The day was the second in the so-called Dog Days, which begin on July 3rd. The Dog Days are so called because they refer to the rising of the star Sirius. In the years following the Revolution, the Masonic fraternities held ceremonial layings for such new enterprises as bridges, locks, universities, government buildings, state houses, memorials, and even churches. Such buildings were aligned with the stars, and with the spiritual beings who ruled the stars. Although a survey of the foundation charts used in the early phase of the building of Washington, D.C. reveals the importance of astrology, and, indeed, confirms beyond doubt that astrology played an important role in the early Masonic rites, the rationale of astrology was rarely discussed openly, even in Masonic documents. Knowledge of the stars, insofar as they were understood in Masonic circles, was preserved as secrets best left to those with specialist knowledge of such things. August 7th, 1880, at precisely 10:59 a.m., the cornerstone of the Washington Monument obelisk was laid just as the sun passed over Sirius. The day the foundation stone for the White House was laid, around noon, the moon entered the same 23rd degree of Virgo as the Dragon's Head node. On the morning of September 18th, 1793, the sun was also passing through this degree of Virgo when the Capitol building was founded. When the Library of Congress was founded, the sun and Saturn were in conjunction in Virgo. And when the Scottish Rite Freemason House of the Temple cornerstone was laid on October 18th, 1911, the moon and Venus were in conjunction in Virgo. The White House, Capitol building, and Washington Monument form the Federal Triangle, which mirrors on the ground Arcturus, Spica, and Regulus in the sky, 3 stars that bracket Virgo. In Washington, D.C., there are 22 full zodiacs secreted into the architecture, most of them highlighting Virgo. This is the highest concentration of zodiacal art and symbology in the world, compared with only 4 in London, for example. David Oveson wrote, "The chances of the correspondence being mere coincidence are so remote that we must assume that whoever was directing the planning of Washington, D.C., not only had a considerable knowledge of astrology, but had a vested interest in emphasizing the role of the sign Virgo. Time and time again, we shall see that a knowledge of the stars played an important part in every stage of the creative phases in the construction of the city. On evenings from August 10th to the 15th, as the sun sets over Pennsylvania Avenue, the constellation Virgo appears in the sky above the White House and the Federal Triangle. At that same moment, the setting sun appears precisely above the apex of a stone pyramid in the old post office tower, which is just wide enough to occlude the solar disk. According to the 19th century Freemason Ross Parsons, the Assumption of the Virgin Mary is fixed on the 15th of August because at that time the sun is so entirely in the constellation of Virgo that the stars of which it is composed are rendered invisible in the bright effulgency of his rays." John Coleman wrote, "Man has always felt the need to dominate, and nowhere and at no time is the desire more prevalent than in this modern era. If it were not so, why all the need for secret societies? If we are ruled by an open system, run by democratically elected officials, Why the need for a secret Masonic order in every village, town, and city across the United States? How is it that Freemasonry can operate so openly and yet keeps its secrets so well hidden?
First, you pay out your tuition to get into university, where they strip you of your intuition and give you an indoctrination. Then you receive a Master's Masonic degree while wearing a Masonic mortarboard cap and Cult of Saturn black robes to become an alumni, or Illuminati. Graduation means to increment or retard progress. As Jordan Maxwell says, the true meaning of graduation is gradual indoctrination. Indeed, stick a bunch of 5-year-olds in a room full of 5-year-olds for a year, then a bunch of 6-year-olds with 6-year-olds and so on for 20 years until you're so indoctrinated they give you a doctorate. Michael Tessarian wrote, "The syllables are ma for measure and store for star, measurer of the stars, namely an astrologer. Children are still given a star today for successful application to their studies.